Hello to everyone here on air and in this room. A warm welcome here from Dortmund and Vienna. In this session, we want to explore the role of social innovation for sustainability. And we are and my colleague Christian Vogt from ZSI. And now I want to change the slides. I hope yes, you see the pictures. Christian is doing the second part and will introduce some examples of social innovation, and and I will guide you a little bit through theory and the conception. And what's the agenda of this session will be coming later, and I coming to you now. What's our mission? We want to start first with our mission of sustainability. What is the idea of sustainability in our sense is that we need of the present we have to face them without compromising the future generation so that they can meet their needs, so that they in future can live and shape their life in a sustainable way in the same way we have it now. So that would be for this little small ice bear, and to keep his room, his space, and his environment that he can live on, and not that he has to go through the waste and to live, but he should live in his space and his environment. Not only the ice bear is our mission, but also we want to shape the future also for us, for the next generations. So we should avoid that, symbolized by these four pictures. We should avoid flood in our cities. We have to face and damage a lot of things, all because of climate change. Or we should avoid heating periods with no water. A lot of people in the southern earth starve for that reason. Or also for us, a lot of storms is coming up, and also in consequences of climate change. And not least at last, you can follow the news from China, the air pollution, and it is a very risk for the health of all people living there. That is our mission we want and fighting for, and our idea is that the world should use social innovations for that global challenge, to face that global challenge. Also, we in the northern atmosphere, and to help them also for the consequences, mostly in the south of the world. So that is our agenda. We have a short welcome finished now, an introduction here, and I'm honored to go to the definition and of social innovation and its potential for sustainability. And then we switch over. We hope that it's technical possible to Christian, and he will he will guide you through social innovations to meet green challenge. And at the fourth part, you have a time to question and answers. And during all the session, you can use the chat function to ask questions. They will be collected, and at the end of the session, we will try to answer some of them. Next thing is that this session is recorded, so if you miss some seconds, you can go to the CASI website and see on some menu point to choose this session again. And if the session is finished at the last sentence, you are asked to compile a short questionnaire to go through and answer for the host, for the University of Milano. So that's our program for today. We start with the idea: what is social innovation? You see a lot of words, maybe carbon trading. That is a social innovation who tries to translate environmental things into an ecological logic. So you have to pay for the air pollution, and so that is one point. And also microcredits are one idea to empower people to invest in their future with a very new form of banking. Or open source is an idea to use the intelligence of a lot of people to improve things, or maybe community wind farms is the idea that people start a crowdfunding project to have their own windmill, their own energy. So there are a lot of things. I don't want to go through every detail here. And the idea is that social innovation is liked by everyone. Everyone likes this is a term, but at the moment, a lot of different definitions are on the air, on the air, and no one is quite sure what it means. So we want to try to help you a little bit what that can be. Yeah, of course, we start with a hard thing, the definition, and we try a little bit for that. And what is social innovation? Social innovation in this definition has 6 elements. It is a new combination or new configuration of social practices. Social practices is a very established theory we can use for this idea of social innovation. Of course, this only happens in certain actions or social contexts. Social innovations are prompted by certain actors or maybe some settings of actors. And the idea is that not it happens like it happened, but it is an intention behind that, a goal for better satisfying or answering needs and problems of society. And that idea is that um, this answers and problems are satisfied by a changed established practice. Social innovation and innovation in general has to be socially accepted and diffused and spread through the society, or at minimum at certain areas of the society, and has some forms of institutionalization for this social practice. That's the definition, a little bit dry, and so we try to have a picture. So social practice you cannot make a snapshot of, but we try to have a little bit an explanation in that case. So maybe if you look for car sharing, very simple example. Social practice is that in the first setting of social practice, each one has his own car and maybe go every day to work with a car. And there are a lot of cars and a lot of traffic and a lot of mobile, and for that, a lot of air pollution. And the idea is how we can come to a new social practice, to a new combination and configuration of that practice, and that the air is more cleaner than before. And that idea comes that don't work. Sorry. And the intended target is that we help our little ice bear to survive in his region, and we help him to survive. And car sharing helps you. I think the most of you know car sharing helps. There are not so many cars produced. There are not so much traffic if you combine it with several people going in a common car to their work. And of course, social innovation is not free from technological, must not be free. You can use an app or something like that for that. What is the other aspects of the definition? The one aspect is that should not only stay alone, but it should spread through society. And if you look around, sharing activities, sharing economy just spreads through the society, and there are a lot of institutionalizations of social practice. So you get a picture of what is meant by social innovation in this definition. So if you come and see, that is our social innovation, the changed social practice, the institutionalization, and also the spread through the society. again, we come back. What are the targets we have to face in the next years? If we go on as usual, we got a lot of air pollution. You all know then the climate will change, and we have more than 2 degrees, more than 2 degrees target. And what is our idea is that that must not be, and there are a lot of things to change, and it is possible. We really believe that it's possible to remain under the two degree target, and we think what has to happen for that, that we need a systematic change. We need a new innovation paradigm that not only uses technical innovation, they have been developed, and there are a lot of things, good things still to be developed. And of course, they have to be used. That is also a task within the next years. But that is not enough. We think that it is very, very important that you need a new innovation paradigm using social innovation in combination with technological innovations, but also alone. And this has to be discovered. There are a lot of grassroots initiatives. Christian will give you some impressions later. And there's still a lot of work that to develop innovations, to make the intentional use of them, and to spread them through society. So the core question at the moment is this intentional approach of change social practices. Does it work? And how does it work? And we try to give some answers from the position from now. You can unlock the potential of social innovations maybe on 3 different levels, like it has been laid out by Rachnes Hubert. Maybe the first level is a very simple question. A simple idea is that there's a social demand perspective. That is the idea. There are some areas that cannot be addressed by the traditional market, that cannot be addressed by the service sector or even addressed by public institutions. And in that area, social innovations have a good perspective to help people to face these challenges and to go on in sustainable transition. The second level is more the societal challenge perspective. There are grand challenges towards sustainability to come to this transition process. And for that, we need new forms of cooperation between different actors. Actors never had cooperate before. We need new solutions. And for this cross-cutting cooperation, we need new forms that enable this cooperation. And also, we need a new conjunction between social, economic, and environmental things. So if you go only for one of these targets and energy cost gets too high, it will invoke a lot of social problems. So that is the demand to have a new conjunction between these 3 pillars of sustainability. The third level is to change the really systematic change of things. So transition, what is needed to reach that 2-degree target is a systematic approach. The traditional models of technological innovation does not work. There's not enough. We need a recreation of the society. We need the ideas of everyone. We have to empower a lot of people, and we have to organize learning processes. And all these 3 levels in combination will help to unlock the potential of social innovation. We have a lot, I mentioned already, a lot of grassroots initiatives at the moment, and also the policies of the European Union and the Commission tries to emphasize social innovation. But to be honest, the research options are still in progress. So the conditions under which social innovations develops, uh, it flourish, it sustain, and finally lead to a social societal change, they are not fully understood. So that is a important state of the art, and we, a lot of people are working at the moment to help to make clear, to develop concepts. Also, CASI in this context is developing new frames, and you will hear from them later. So to enable us to improve our understanding of social innovations. And what should be the target? The idea is to change the consumption to change the consumption production system in a fundamental way, and to use this in innovation models. Of course, the concept should be not thought of social innovation should be not thought as a just a concept for accepting in a traditional way for accepting technological innovations. Social innovation can be have an own contribution to to solve some challenges, and if you go in on the CASI website, you find some examples of that, um, to change the social practices in our behavior. And the idea is not to do it on the consumption side, but to use these ideas also in the same way in the production system. And it it all depends to another also to change the consumption production system by the means of social innovation. So at the end, this is social innovation. Mostly we will a process of collective creation. It will be a process of learning, and it will be establish a new way of a social game of collaboration and also of conflicts. And the idea is that we can use it, and we have to enable people to use this concept for their needs and challenges. Maybe only a very short view into the actual research is that my colleagues here from SFS have have pointed out the idea of invention and imitation, and they get it from Gabriel Tarde and his ideas. And the the phrase is that the invention and imitation are working in a close way. That the 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 innovation is the component of both. The invention does not help a lot if there are no people who imitate that invention, and so that it becomes an innovation. Tarde compares it like the with this phrase, like the mountains are the innovations and the rivers running, they are the imitation and making the performance for that. And for that, the quality is the quality of an invention is that what is making better is that the invention is imitated by a lot of things. The idea is to go through the invention and to exploit them and diffuse them within the whole society. And if you look at society, there are not only one inventions, but there are streams of imitation of this invention. For example, we are using all mobiles, and we have not have a lot of marketing in that case, but we are using more what is the colleague doing, what is my daughter doing, and we imitating that from that, and we got the spread is done in a very short time. So that is very important if you go through the social innovation and the imitation aspect. Maybe some aspects from the research community of social innovation. They have made declaration in the Vienna Declaration just to redraw the boundaries for that. And here you get some highlights. Social innovation, you should combine the potential in the social, economic, in the civil society, business firm, and in the states. US, for example, is in consequence, you use the multi-level governance. That is very one success factor. You have to create alliances between academic and economic and other institutions from the state working on several innovations and especially social innovations. You have to open the process of innovation to society, not to be only in a room and waiting for the central point to go out, but you have to include very short, very early all stakeholders in the development and in the diffusion of innovation. Idea also to empower people, not only researchers, but also citizens. People are using innovations. People are using social innovations, social movements, communities. They are also to be needed to integrate in that process. And what also is important for the field of sustainability, you have to learn from all these initiatives, grassroots initiatives still going on, and that is very important. And for example, in CASI, we do that in an excellent way, like we go through different cases and we try to learn what have they done and how do they manage their innovations. Yeah, there's a lot of research started in the last years about social innovation. Maybe only a few highlights. There is developed a new transformative social innovation theory. There are a lot of other things, maybe the consumer product protection in finance. How can there be done a bridge to sustainability? There are different models and to how to integrate the multi-stakeholder dialogue. And last not least, in CASI, we are developing a management frame to support innovation, to support sustainable innovation and social innovation. We come to that, play a very important role in that context. So there are a lot of results. You can see it on this slide. And all these results you can go through. What is one of the important result is in CASI that we mapped a lot of cases of sustainable innovation, and the first analysis shows that a quarter of these are sustainable innovations, and another quarter says that social innovation plays an important part. Our colleagues are still in going through all these cases and are still in the analysis, but I'm sure we can outline all these cases and show what is importance of social innovation for sustainability. So the key question is we need to understand the conditions under which social innovations develop, they flourish, they sustain, and finally lead to a new social change. And for that, we have to create an ecosystem for social innovation environment for this innovation idea that supports it. Because I hand over to Christian, here is just an idea how it can go, and he will point out a little bit more concrete how it works. But the idea is to have all these four parts, all these four areas of society, and civil society, policy, economy, academia, training, and to build new alliances and to use that capacities and intelligence for this idea. Yes. From that point is a crossover to Christian, and he will go on the practical side of social innovation.
Okay. Well then, thank you very much, Jürgen, for this really great introduction. And I think there was a person who said there's nothing as practical as a good theory, so I would stick with that. I hope you see my slides, Practices of Social Innovation to Meet the Green Challenge. Jürgen, you can see that, just to make sure that we have a smooth handover. And basically, what's the, Jürgen at the end of his presentation had the perfect finishing line, saying that we need to change our production and consumption models, and not only the models but also the adaptation of those production and consumption modes, because only if it reaches a certain scale it will have an impact. So basically, if you talk about meeting the green challenge, it means we need to get as many people on board as possible. And then I thought, wow, yes, the idea of imitation is actually crucial, right? Like imitation is maybe not the most attractive concept, because who wants to be an imitator? But in this context, it's actually quite important to have as many imitators as possible. And it brought us to the idea of what do we need for imitation? And it's the whole idea of the ecosystem. And to be honest, I think ecosystem is as broad a term as social innovation. So you will find many interpretations, definitions, conceptualizations. And it might be good to know where I'm coming from. So basically, Technical University of Dortmund, SFS, CETSI, Center for Social Innovation, is also a partner in the project. And we work at the intersection of social practices and the development of those practices in the context of technologies. So basically, we are not necessarily saying that technology always enables behavioral change, but we are very interested in seeing how does behavioral change or social change interact with new features of technology, with more knowledge about technology, etc. And we are in that stage at this point. We are already fully, there we go. At this point, we are already in medias res, like the discussion about the social innovation ecosystem. So basically, a bottom line is large-scale social innovation and the imitation thereof require social innovation ecosystems. And I was wondering, what is like a not overly complex but still comprehensive view on social innovation ecosystems? And was saying, well, definitely the idea of sharing, right? And sharing can take very different formats, and we will see that in the three examples I'm going to present. Like sharing can be the sharing of information, and then it's basically transparency. And to me, it's one of the first enablers. So it's not really fair to ask people to participate or to take a vote, etc., if they are not fully informed. So transparency of the situations, of what can be delivered, what cannot be delivered, is one of the first steps. Secondly, then, is the sharing of knowledge, and maybe I should even say experiences. So we will see that in one of the cases as well, like when we talk about energy production systems or energy consumption patterns, then the idea that there is good practice which can be replicated is very welcome, because every learning cycle you can avoid will save you costs. And thirdly, and not the least important one, is sharing is also about sharing power. So basically, it's not exactly fruitful to say you are allowed to participate in the imitation of practices as long as I'm the one who can determine the practice. So essentially, these are the three dimensions of sharing which we will cover in the next three examples. The second dimension, which I think is very important to have to look out for in social innovation ecosystems, is the forming of new alliances. So very often we see activists in the field having a really great idea, moving things forward, but sooner or later they need to get in contact, or very often they are already, get in contact with the institutional players and find this common denominator where they can bring forward a project or an idea together with established players. So we will see that, for instance, in the case of the Viennese energy company um, installing citizen power plants. So this is a very, I think, intuitive picture of what sorts of new alliances between large companies and representative organizations of citizen movements we can see, and we will have a few more. And lastly, we want to see the enablement of collective action, like the idea that once we share the knowledge, once we get together, that we also have a common action plan and can move forward in a collaborative way, which goes basically back and says we also need to engage in collaborative decision making. So if I'm supposed to contribute to an action, it's good if I had a say in the previous decisions. Now, the three examples we have, they come from three different countries, as you will probably already know if you look at this slide. First example comes from the Netherlands, the second one will be from Austria, and the last one will be from Hungary. And I might also say that all three examples, they are sort of different in terms of their maturity. The first two one, very mature, major players, big budgets, and the second one, the third one from Hungary is more focusing on the social implications of sustainable innovation, and then it's hopefully a nice range of very different examples to show that sustainable or ecological innovation can work, should work in most or many or maybe all regions. It's just a process of adaptivity that we need to go through to make it fit with the local conditions. So, but coming back to the Fairphone example, and then we go just through the 3 points. So if I may go back, so for each example, we talk about the sharing of transparency of information, knowledge, or power, about the alliances that had been formed and the collaborative action that are involved. But if you look at Fairphone, they are not really presenting themselves as the sustainable or social innovation. They just say, we care about fair production conditions. We promise you a mobile phone which you can use longer than your average mobile phone, which might stop working or be very slow after a year or two. And we do something for the environment because we care about recycling. So these are some of the main messages which are also important in the context of CASI. And essentially, I took it because it's a nice example of what we can do about the scarcity of rare materials. Because if you remember the first slide, there was a chemical element which was talking about tantalum, and we will get back to that. But first of all, the dimension of transparency. So Fairphone is very transparent about where the costs occur, who is working in the extraction of the materials, worker conditions, and they also show what happens with the materials in their phones. So you probably know the concept of linear economy and circular economy. So this is not a presentation about this concept, but it's fundamental to the social innovation that's behind the Fairphone material issue. So right now, they look at their production still as an example for the linear economy. They say, we take rare materials from the earth, we make our mobile phones, we sell them, and then what happens? So basically, the interesting numbers are that the users, after a year or so, more than half, or slightly over half, are just stored away with indefinite use, probably because they are too slow or because there's a more fancy one, but they don't have any dedicated purpose. They just sit there. Only a quarter is sold to other people, and then this is basically very good use. So basically, you hand it over to somebody who needs it. 30% is basically a very low number, but is still just a second phone. So then sometimes people start using one phone for private, another phone for work, something like that. So not necessarily the most efficient way of using materials. And unfortunately, we must say only 5% are collected. So go back to the recycling process. And then a staggering 19%, and then 1%, here we go, is actually thrown away, which is the sin, if you want to. But well, I don't want to be too militant here. But essentially, this is the linear model of consumption. And then we go to the next one. And what they are looking forward to is a better way of recycling the materials that are in there. And I think they have like 80 rare materials, something like a high number, let's put it this way. One of those rare materials is tantalum, which is only 1/15 of the amount of gold you have in the universe. So if you think gold is rare, then tantalum is 50 times as rare. So, and their approach here is they take it from a design perspective first. They say, right now, the recuperation of these materials is done by grinding the stuff and do sifting through the material, getting out the rare materials through chemical processes, etc. But wouldn't it be good if we had a modular design approach which makes it much more easier to recube those materials? So this is what their long-term goal, and by now they have Fairphone 2. They just released it this year, and they are closer to that step, but yet still they're not fully there. So that is the idea of new alliances. So because now what we see here are not only your typical R&D department plus the production lines, etc., but you also suddenly you have recovery experts, policymakers who need to support the right investments that need to be made, in order to build up that infrastructure. Who's taking care of the recycled materials? Is there a market for recycled materials? All these are ecosystemic conditions for the circular economy. So this is one of the new alliances aspects. And now the third and last dimension for this first example is, okay, but where does the collective action come in? And we have pretty straightforward two communities at hand here. First one is that the Fairphone operating system is based on an open source Android version. And you might say, well, this is nothing new. I mean, open source operating systems exist in many commercial phones. They are not particularly innovative when it comes to sustainability. But essentially, the objectives of Fairphone, the ones that connect with the open sourcing of the operating systems, are slightly different because there's no such thing as inbuilt obsoleteness. Basically, having ever more advanced features so that the technology you bought 3 or 5 years ago isn't working anymore. I mean, if anybody of you has tried to use a laptop, maybe even a laptop that's older than 7 years, you will run into troubles because the technology used then cannot cope with the requirements of the software used now. So basically, they make sure that the resources offered by the technology are the ones also Fairphone can satisfy. And secondly, there is the reuse community, as we have seen. Um, there needs to be a much larger part of mobile phones that is collected, or facilities that support the reuse of mobile phones, and there can be associated services like, how do you make sure that there are no data left on the mobile before you give it away? And those things are already on their way, but basically what it requires here are two things, like, as Jürgen said at the beginning, we need to change our consumption models. It needs to enter our consciousness. There is the possibility to give it away, or to go to a place where those things are collected for further use. And also that when we buy the stuff first, that this becomes part of our decision-making criteria. How sustainable are those products we buy? And basically, this is the reuse community that needs to grow. Okay, so this was the 3 dimensions of the social innovation ecosystem when it comes to a mobile phone. Now, on a very different area, a very different domain, we talk about renewable energies. And what we can see here are citizen solar panels around Vienna. One of the aims of Vienna is that 40% of the city's power supply will be delivered through renewable energy in 2030. And citizens are addressed primarily as investors. And I guess this is a common stream in most European countries, that these days you can very attractively invest in renewable energies. Okay. And when it comes to the first dimension again, so in this case, of course, there's also some information sharing, like what is the efficiency of the solar panels, what is the need, how does it fit with the existing grid, etc. So this is one thing. But essentially, we can also see a very nice instance of power sharing. So if you think about your situation, if you live in a flat which you rented, your possibilities are quite limited when it comes to the selection of energy providers. In terms of, you can only select from what's there. So basically, if there are no providers that offer green energy, it's very hard to be autark and get your green energy elsewhere. So it's one of the instances where you are dependent from a centralized infrastructure. Now here we had a movement then where the energy provider saw that as a trend. I mean, there are multiple reasons, but we stick for now to the emergent concern for climate change. And basically, they started to deliver sale and lease model. So basically, they sold the solar panels to the citizens and then leased them back from the citizens for an annual rate, which was basically the return on investment for the citizens. In that effect, basically, they could also go, or measure, anticipate the demand, which was quite high. So we come to that in the next slide. But the power sharing was one very strong element in this example. And a second very nice, interesting example is also the learning that came with it, because in one instances, they installed the solar panels on the roof of a school, a technical college in Vienna, and they do different experiments there also to bring it into the mind of, the young people who go to schools and just want to learn more about the drawbacks or the possibilities, and also in renewable energies there are different technologies they want to learn about, and we need them to be experts to also develop on the technical side of these innovations. Okay, what about the new alliances we can see in that example? I mean, pretty straightforward. We have a large supplier of energy on one side, supplying 2 million people, about 230,000 industrial facilities, so we get a picture. And on the other side, but we also have like 5,000 citizens who invested 20 million in renewable energies, basically buying the shares, leasing them back to their energy provider. And in terms of the collective action, we can see here, it's by now we have 18 power plants equaling 23,000 panels. The demand is still higher than the supply, and the last plant, for instance, in May, shortly before May, was sold out in 15 minutes. So this is very attractive. I guess for fairness sake, we also have to say the return on investment, a year ago, 3 point something percent, and right now 2.5%. It's fairly high. So in times of the economic crisis, investing in green energy was also economically attractive, but which is good, right? Like in an ecosystem, we cannot separate those objectives. Like for me, the social objective, the personal motivation, the economical incentives, they all have to go together. And then we will hopefully achieve the greatest impact. Okay, now the last example from Hungary, and very different setting if you think about it. So we talk about social innovation against fuel poverty. So we talk about a Hungarian village where unemployment rate is a staggering 98%. So it has to do with the distribution of Roma population, which is higher in some areas of Hungary than in others. There is a whole chain of consequences that goes with unemployment, because there are regulations which say you have to be employed at least 30 days per year to get minimum support, which is sometimes not given in these villages, and the whole the way we came across that initiative is also because it was a Sozialmarie Prize winner in 2014, and for those Social Mary, it is a social innovation prize issued here in Austria. So Biomass Briquettes, as you will know, it's basically reusing already existing raw materials from agriculture, sometimes some paper materials. It can be a specific mix, and there is a whole science behind what works, what doesn't work, and how do you need to treat it to get those briquettes up to the high color, to a sufficiently high calorific value. And this is where in the first dimension we come across the knowledge sharing dimension. And it's a little bit different than knowledge sharing in a highly technical area where you might have journals, magazines, or a huge marketing apparatus. So here it's really people building those briquettes in their backyards, exchanging knowledge, what works, what didn't work, and how they get around certain problems. So it's low-tech, easily adaptable, and locally built technologies we are talking about. Of course, you will also find fairly advanced technological production facilities, but from a social innovation perspective that can be spread into deprived areas. This one is the one we found most interesting. And you can see discussion forums where they talk about what press to buy or how to construct them themselves and what raw materials. And then also like thinking about aggregated production. So basically they were saying, our two villages are in the same area, shouldn't we organize a joint venture and do that together? Yeah, that's that. And basically the new alliances here, I mean, we often see that it takes an institutional partner to at least coordinate the whole initiative. I mean, you can have a very vociferal or, a very prominent member of the community who can take on that role. But in this case, it was Pearl Foundation. They provided basic education. They gave also advice to deal with authorities and the official procedures involved. And what we found interesting, they were not only focusing on the ecological aspect and the sustainability aspect of energy consumption and what it does, to your environment if each winter you go out and cut down trees, etc. So basically, they took a whole person approach as we all need, and basically and saying we look into educational issues in your integration into existing social services, etc. And part of that, we make sure that you have a warm house in the upcoming winter. And this was a very important definition of their services. So we have the community in the villages, we have the foundation, and of course at some point we also need the government which recognizes these efforts and has different funding programs which supports the work of the foundation, which is also important because unlike the energy thing, which was an attractive investment for Viennese citizens, here we don't have the an easy accessible exchange of money for services in a poor village in Hungary. So we need to change what we understand under production consumption models. The collective action for this last case was then also very interesting aspect that they started with only three local workers. The rest 14 were volunteers recruited and trained because they just saw the benefit they got from it. You can see a picture of one of the press, which would be a manual one. But of course, you also find more machine or powered with external powers provided machines. They produced 30,000 briquettes in the last year, which is about 7 tons, which was enough to supply the families that had some people working in the exercise, and they have plans to supply the whole village in the next year. But because as I was talking in the beginning, we have different levels of maturity, and they are a nice visible case which can be adopted by other communities in similar situations where energy poverty is rampant and a serious problem. Okay, yeah, wow. So this went quickly. These are the three different examples I wanted to show you, like rare materials, the production of renewable energy, and also rethinking energy provision under extreme poverty conditions. They all have an economical implication because I was wondering what's the common denominator of these three examples. If you think about it, there's always an economical benefit included. So you care for rare materials, but you don't really mind if your phone works longer than a year. So this is also a benefit you have. The same applies to the renewable energy model. It's not only that you do something to strengthening the renewable energy sector, you also have a nice or an attractive investment. And when it comes to the last example, even there, I mean, you learn how to help yourself. Where in former times, people started to burn things that are not really meant to burn, and they had all sorts of health problems because of the fumes that were released, etc. So it is most of the times, at least in these three examples, a win-win option for the environment and the social or the individuals involved in the innovative action. And this is one of the powerful arguments for the social innovation ecosystem in my mind. So we didn't really talk about how to wrap it up, but I think this is then the idea of you having questions. You need to unmute yourself. Somehow I can't hear.
To answer them, the first question is, I understand that social innovation is a key driver of sustainability in a variety of ways, but I do not understand how we can spur social innovation in ways other than empowerment and encouraging people. So, important question. And what are the some concrete and tangible ways that CASI is aiming to spur and to promote social innovation? That's the first question. And maybe, Matthias, I start with the answer. The idea of CASI is to bring social innovations to the surface. We have a database of a lot of cases of sustainable innovation, and it was not targeted, but a quarter is really are really social innovations. And the idea is that if you see all these innovations and you are in a different country, in different context, it is up to you and your institution to imitate them, to give that to an innovation in your context. And also the second aspect is that CASI is developing a management frame, including this multi-stakeholder view. And this managing frame will, for that, include the potential of social innovation. And that is coming and answering maybe a little bit to your questions. Second question is, do you think an increasing of regulation could improve or stiffen the bottom-up processes, which is the base of social innovation? So my idea is there have been a lot of regulations, also to the mainstream, to the enterprises, but also to the grassroots initiatives. For example, in Germany, the big energy enterprises have a lot of problems because of the change of the energy system. That is a regulation. And what we are working is the combination and how we can help niche innovations coming to the mainstream, and we are researching at that point. So I'm not afraid about the regulations, to be honest, and I suppose that will be not the position of Matthias. Third question is considering the definition Jürgen gave of social innovation and the empirical research done in the project CASI, do you think that world is moving in the right hope direction? Maybe Matthias, you can answer that. Christian, you may answer that.
Me? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for the worldview. Okay. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I do. Yes, I do think that it's moving in the right direction because one of my, and this is just my very personal point of view, it doesn't necessarily need to reflect the review of everybody else in CASI, but I think we need a positive attitude. So basically, we will not succeed in this in this struggle, which it is, if you heard talk about the 2 degrees, etc. If we are too concerned about what we do is the right thing to do, and maybe we should ponder about it another 2 months or 2 years before we do anything. So I think it's moving in the right direction, that we see a lot of local initiatives, and also that we see these social innovation ecosystems which help or which bring in major market players. So essentially, you have renewable energy and solar panels on roofs also on a local level. So this would be the equivalent to, in villages, this would be the equivalent to the Viennese energy citizen power plants. But I think how much more powerful and efficient is it if you have a large institutional player taking on the same agenda? They should have done so much earlier, no question, but taking on the same agenda and doing a fair share, and they could even do more. So basically, given the demand they have, my next step would be, yes, we are on the right track, but we need to speed up. So basically, just getting there earlier, that would be my wish.
Yes, I see there are not no more questions, and to speed up, I think, and to go on and to imitate, that is a very important thing. And thank you for being in this session, and go and imitate all these ideas, inventions, and maybe you can support us in working on social innovation research and appliance. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.